Many of you have saw the short videos we've worked on Venezuela, Maria Machado. Some of you have watched when we talk about the capture of Maduro and the special operations that happened. And many of you have asked to go in more detail with the longer videos. So we're going to do that. We're still not going to cross the line and talk about classified activities, but I do think that you should know more than what you're seeing on the news. I hope that we can provide that for you. If you love our videos, just go ahead down, hit the subscribe button, follow, like. I have a couple questions here today, and those are actually from people who's left comments. We're going to take this opportunity to talk about the Iran crisis. The first question somebody asked is, can I give a quick brief on Iranian history? And I'd be happy to do that. So Iran, people say it's Persia, and it was. But before Persia, it was also Iran or Iran. It means land of the Aryans. A lot of people don't know that. And then, of course, Greek conquered with Alexander the Great, and it became Persia, which is a Greek word. And then, of course, later on with Raza Pahlavi, the Shah, I believe in 1925 or 35, he had asked the United Nations to turn this back and call it Iran. So Iran, obviously, in the Ottoman Empire, when the Muslim Caliphate had taken over, Muhammad started his dreams in 610. He married Khadijah in 595. The Hijra was 622, and he died in 632. And then as Islam expanded through Persia at the time, Iran, it was converted from Zoroastrianism, was the main religion, to Islam. So that's how we get Islam today inside of Iran. So it's a great history. There's about 90 million Iranians, so it's very large. It's young, but there's still people who remember pre-1979, and that's before the Islamic Revolution came to Iran. So the Shah of Iran, before the Islamic Revolution, was great partners with the United States of America. We had military contracts and equipment exchanges. Unfortunately, the Shah lived a very high-profile lifestyle when people were not doing so well. It allowed a undergrowth momentum of discontentment to rise. And so, make a long story short, riots started in 1978, really caused by a lot of the Islamic forces inside the country. It allowed Ayatollah Khomeini to come in 1979 and land, and that created the Islamic Revolution. So that's how we kind of got to the stage of 1979. Immediately the next year, there's the 8-year war with Iraq from 80 to 88, and there was 2 military forces with Iran that are relevant to today, so I'll tell you the history. One is the Iranian army. The Iranian army is made to protect Iran, just like the United States Army is made to protect our country. But the IRGC is different. It's the Iranian Republican Guard Corps. It's not made to protect the nation. It's made to protect the regime. But following the 88 war, there had to be how do we pay 2 militaries? And they decided to allow the IRGC to make their money by trade. And domestically inside the country, they could have construction and road construction and building construction, and they gained a lot of wealth doing that. Outside the country, the IRGC was also making deals when we were dealing with Syria, inside Syria, with Bashar al-Assad on oil fields. We'll come help protect your regime, but you have to make some deals with us. So those kind of things were going on. The IRGC was also to export the revolution. They wanted this revolution to be exported outside of Iran. We want to spread this in Africa, throughout the Middle East, and all over the world. So they started working with groups like Hezbollah, more recently Hamas, the Houthis and the Zaydis in Yemen. So here we are today, and we're dealing with the Iran military, the IRGC, and now you know when these riots are taking place, or these protests, why the military is starting to say, I don't want to shoot my own people, but the IRGC are a different story, because they're made not to protect the nation, but to protect the regime. We have had one other time like this, and that was When there was an election that took place with Ahmadinejad, he was the president of Iran. The Green Party, led by Massadeh, believed, hey, they had won the election. So they have 4 million Iranians out in the street all saying that we won the election. They're all wearing green. And President Obama had just been elected. And so he decides to make a press conference, but he didn't have advisors that really understand the geopolitical in the Middle East. So he made a statement and he said, Iranian government shouldn't treat their people bad. They shouldn't beat them up. They shouldn't shoot them. So I'm going to have people talk to the Iranian government about how they handle the protests. He didn't understand what he had just done. When you say that I'm going to talk to the Iranian government, you're now saying that that's the government. When the whole reason the Green Party is out in the streets is to say, no, they're not the government. We won the election. And they don't realize the strategic mistake that they made by saying those words. But this is the closest we've been since 2008, 2009 for the possibility of Iranian regime collapse. This began by economic pressure. See, Biden, the sanctions were still there, but they weren't enforced at all. And so Iranian was able to do well. The economic pressure and the inflation caused protests about the regime, and they're asking for the return of Raza Pahlavi, the Shah's son. He's pro-American, he's pro-West. Although he believes in religion, he doesn't believe that that should lead the government. And so I'm not advocating that he becomes the next leader of Iran, but he definitely needs to be on a short ticket on an airplane to get over there if the situation allows. He'll be a major influence. And he doesn't say that he wants to be the leader of Iran, but he does want to help the people. Somebody asked about the 2009 parallel. I believe I answered that. Somebody asked about our planned responses. Wow. Well, that's a tough one. I don't want to get into any classifications, but as you know, we do have an armada. We have moved significant assets from other locations dealing with anti-aircraft, PAC-3 systems, Aegis systems to protect bases, infrastructure in other countries that we think would be significant, that could be targeted, and even to help support the Iron Dome in Israel. And remember, it's not an aircraft carrier that comes, it's a whole battle group, aircraft carrier group, which is submarines and other things that are part of that. And there's really three courses of action. There's the U.S. can overthrow the regime. That means we send a package in to take certain government buildings, while kinetic strikes could attack the leadership. Could that happen? Yes. Should that be on the table? Yes. I'm not saying I advocate that. Obviously, there's downsides to that. The second would be kinetic strikes to help overthrow the regime. You may have limited assets to help anti-regime forces with weapons and things like that. And through your intelligence apparatus and your aviation support or close air support, you can help these fighters move towards taking government buildings while you hit certain IRGC and other facilities where large gathering of forces are, and continue to dismantle their missile program. Okay, somebody asked me about negotiations. Yes, there's backdoor negotiations going on, but not just with the leadership of Iran. There's also negotiations going on between people who are calling IRGC, generals telling them that they may want to switch sides at a certain point, army generals, and other people. So all those things are happening behind the scenes, and some of it's direct between us and them. Some of it is using advocates like Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Different ones feel different ways. So we'll use everyone that we can, that we think that we can get a leverage point. You might want to open Starlink to have pre-planned messages to get to the people should an event begin. So should I start to do a operation, I may want the people to react a certain way. By the way, one of the reasons we know that the Shia militia are controlling a lot of the streets and doing a lot of the killing is because people are yelling in Arabic, and Iranians, they speak Farsi. I made a short talking about strategic chess. So what does strategic chess say? Well, right now, some people in the news are talking about Venezuela. Maduro, should he have been captured or not? Is he a world leader or not? Oil. You see the world and you see strategic chess pieces. So imagine if in strategic competition or great powers competition, Iran was actually making Shahed missiles inside a factory in Venezuela. You have Iranian forces, IRGC, inside Venezuela. You have drug forces, multiple cartels, and Maduro is leading his cartel using his military, and then there's some Colombian cartel in there as well. And you have Russian activities that are happening, and then of course China with their oil, Venezuela selling cheap oil, and Iranians inserting shipping and ghost shipping to try to get around sanctions. So imagine taking Venezuela off the chessboard, and now you've taken a piece. None of these are winning moves, but they're pretty significant moves. And if Iran, which has been the #1 destabilization of the Middle East, threatening shipping in Yemen, the Houthis, totally controlled by Iran, totally funded by Iran. The weapons and the systems, even though they're put together, they're actually made in Iran. The threats of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah was in Syria. Obviously it was part of the 2006 31-day war with Israel. Hamas, the largest supporter of Hamas is Iran. And there's other people, and IRGC was actually inside Syria, and they took a lot of the homes in Syria. They're actually given homes because Bashar al-Assad wanted them to fight on his behalf to save his regime. Look at Iraq. The majority of Iraq population are Shia. And even though the real Ayatollah, the only one that's real from a religious aspect is Grand Ayatollah Sistani, who's in Iraq. Pretty moderate guy, but there's a lot of radical Shias in Iraq that Iran is trying to control. So imagine them getting taken off the chessboard. So now you recalculate what your power is. It changes the whole equation. So anyway, somebody asked me if I thought they would mine the Strait of Hormuz. And so we have most likely course of action and most dangerous course of action. And I think that falls more in the most dangerous course of action. Really two: one, chemical weapons being used in the warhead, and then secondly would be mining the Strait of Hormuz. And as far as world economics, right now I think the barrel is somewhere around $70 a barrel of oil. That would probably shoot to $150 a barrel in just a couple weeks if you found 5 mines in the Strait of Hormuz, because commercial shipping would stop working. And so that's always a threat, but it's also a threat to Iran, and China wouldn't get part of their oil. So it's a last play effort, and you have to be ready for it. So that's something that we have to really watch and be careful of. Do we have teams on the ground? I'm not going to answer that. Obviously, there's anti-regime forces. Iran treats the Baluchis, which just like the Kurds don't have a real homeland, and Baluchistan, which is not a country, but it goes through Pakistan, Iran, and below Afghanistan, they would like a homeland. But both of those people are anti-Iran regime. And so it'd be good if we actually worked with some of those people. Somebody asked me about operatives in the U.S. Yes, Iran, IRGC does have operatives inside the U.S. I know a lot of people are upset about the roundup of illegal immigrants that are criminals, but there's been quite a few, and I don't want to get into the numbers because I don't think that's an open number that we can discuss. And some of them from Iran have been rounded up that we know are part of IRGC affiliations or Quds Force. So we always have to be careful of that. I would just, heighten the state of alert. Should an attack happen, I would be ready for that. John, he left a comment, asked about replacement government. I think that we have a strong way forward for that. I think you can see with Venezuela, it was a great lesson learned from Iraq, not to do de-Baathification, not to disband the Iraqi army, and not to tell the tribal elders that we're occupying force that the State Department did. 3 huge mistakes that changed the game. And the military won decisively, but it was the civilian leadership that made those calls. And those were both failures, but that's an Iraq story. I think when you look at the Venezuela model, before Venezuela, it was very thought out, leaving people in place. So you have a police force, you have a military, and now the people in place are just listening to our influence, which is a lot more better for stability. And so I think that that will be the same model. So I feel pretty good. Moving equipment, it's hard to talk about. Somebody sent me a video of somebody making a comment about us watching them move equipment around, and it almost was like a phone call. They had intercepted a phone call I was on a week before that. But I can say that, yes, even before things were in position, there might have been rumors let out about possible strikes and movements that happened that could have gave Iran an indicator. And so, of course, we're going to watch which ships they deploy. Do they turn on their weapon systems? Are they moving rockets to launch pads? Where are they moving them from? How long does it take to get there? That's just normal tactics. And of course, you want to know these things, right? So those are the kind of questions that people ask me. And I'll kind of finish off this long video with my short video was Iran, don't miscalculate. I believe you will. The numbers I have are higher than the numbers you hear on the news. I'm hearing about 46,000 people have been killed by Iran in the protests. There's probably about 60,000 protesters that are under arrest right now and rounded up. I'm sure they're being tortured and terrible things that are happening. And so Iran, you're going to miscalculate. Your measure error is so slim, and I can already tell by what I'm hearing from the negotiations now, you're not going to make it. You think your leverage point is higher than what it is. So I see that most likely we will launch an attack against Iran. And when we do, for Americans here, I want you to know why, the background. Are we just trying to take over a country? Is it about their oil? I mean, that's what people are going to say. That's what you're going to hear on the news. But there is something that we signed. It's called RTP, right to protect. And it says that nations, if you know a massacre is going to happen, it's not you should react or I think it's possible to react, but it says if you sign this, you must react. And the United States signed it, and so did other countries. There's been times we've lived up to that, and there's been times we haven't. President Obama used the RTP doctrine to go into Libya, which I think was not a good call. I know the intelligence that was there, and I don't think that there was a massacre that was going to take place, but I think they just wanted to replace Gaddafi and use our assets to walk the rebels through to replace Gaddafi. Then the Arab Spring rose up, and people in Syria and Yemen were all saying, hey, we're going to protest because America, if we get slaughtered, America, they have to come. They have to protect us. They're not going to let us get massacred until 500,000 people in Syria got massacred and we still didn't come. So we have been very inconsistent in this policy. And I know there's Americans that says, hey, should we be the world's policeman? I don't think we should. I get you because I know what it's like to go to war multiple times. And it's something that the people who put their lives on the line, who might not come back to their families and their kids, if anyone wants to prevent war, it's us. And yet we're willing to go to save someone or to protect Americans. And let me give you this example. If you're in the parking lot of Walmart and I see a van pull up and 3 guys try to drag your 10-year-old daughter into that van, knowing that if she gets in that van and takes off, the chances are not likely that we'll be able to get to her. I would fight to my last breath to save her. I don't know her. I don't know you, but I'm not letting that 10-year-old girl get in that van. And sometimes when you see a massacre happening, you have to decide, is it your national interest? Maybe it's not in our national interest every time, but sometimes you just do the right thing. It's not my call. It's President Trump's call. But we're likely going to attack and damage Iran for what they've done and give the people a possibility to take over their government and to self-govern themselves the way that they choose to do that. So as this happens, I'm going to keep you informed. We have lots of topics to go over, and I'd love to share each one with you. Until then, please, again, put the questions in the comments section. I'll answer them. It's happening soon. Be great and stay tuned.